What's the most extreme case of malicious compliance you've ever seen? My in-laws, the Hendersons, lived in a world of crisp linen, quiet judgment, and unsolicited advice. After my husband passed away, they decided my parenting style was their new charity project. I was a struggling single mother, a phrase they always delivered with a heavy theatrical sigh. Every decision I made was wrong. I used disposable diapers. So bad for the environment, dear, and think of the chemicals. I let my 4-year-old son, Leo, eat chicken nuggets. A shortcut to childhood obesity. My apartment was too small, my car was too old, and my bedtime routine was, according to my mother-in-law, Carol, a recipe for night terrors. Their advice was always based on some book they'd read 30 years ago, completely impractical for a single mom working 50 hours a week. They lived in a 4,000 square foot house and had a full-time nanny when they raised their kids. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my babysitter was my 68-year-old neighbor. The breaking point was the planning for my father-in-law's 70th birthday party. It was a huge, catered affair at their country club. Carol insisted that Leo, as the only grandchild, had to be there and be perfectly behaved. She sent me a 7-page, single-spaced email detailing her non-negotiable rules for Leo's attendance. The list was insane. He was only to eat the organic, gluten-free, sugar-free snacks she would provide. He had to wear an all-white linen suit that she had already purchased. He was forbidden from running, shouting, or touching any of the floral arrangements. And the crowning glory, he had to follow a strict Henderson method nap schedule, which involved him sleeping for exactly 90 minutes in a silent, pitch-black room at precisely 1:30 p.m. A well-rested child is a well-behaved child, she wrote. I read the email and just laughed. It was absurd. My son hadn't napped in over a year, and he considered white clothing a personal invitation for mud and grape juice. Normally, I would have pushed back, argued, and eventually given in to some horrible compromise. But I was so tired of being judged, tired of fighting. And that's when the idea sparked. I wasn't going to fight her. I was going to comply, maliciously. I replied to her email with a single sentence. Thank you, Carol. We will adhere to all of your instructions. This was my trap. The earned discovery would be the public demonstration of just how insane her advice truly was. For the next 2 weeks, I prepped Leo. I hyped him up about his special party outfit and his special party food. On the day of the party, I dressed him in the ridiculous white linen suit. He looked like a tiny, disgruntled cult leader. We arrived at the country club and Carol was beaming. See, she whispered to her friends, gesturing to Leo. A little structure is all they need. I followed her rules to the letter. When another child offered Leo a cookie, I swooped in. Leo, remember Mrs. Henderson's rules, only the special snacks. I handed him a dry rice cake. He looked at me with betrayal in his eyes and threw it on the floor. At 1:30 p.m. sharp, I announced it was time for Leo's nap. Carol led me to a small, windowless office she had designated as the nap room. It was silent and dark. I put Leo down on the travel cot she'd set up. He had never been more awake in his entire life. I'm not tired, he said, his eyes wide in the darkness. I know, sweetie, I whispered, but we have to follow the rules. I sat in that dark room with a vibrating ball of 4-year-old energy for 90 agonizing minutes. When we emerged at exactly 3 p.m., Leo was a changed boy. He was a feral creature, a hurricane of pent-up energy. He had missed the magician, the balloon animals, and the cake. His blood sugar was low from the sad rice cakes, and he was furious about the forced nap. The chaos began immediately. He sprinted through the ballroom, a tiny white blur of destruction. He grabbed a fistful of chocolate from the dessert table, smearing it all over his pristine white suit. He ran headfirst into a towering floral arrangement, sending petals and water cascading onto the floor. The grand finale was the cake. It was a massive, 3-tiered masterpiece. As my father-in-law stood to make his speech, Leo, high on stolen sugar and righteous fury, climbed onto an empty chair, grabbed the microphone from the stand, and screamed into it with the force of a jet engine. The feedback screech sent the entire room reeling. The cake-cutting ceremony was canceled. Carol's face was a perfect mask of horror. Her friends were staring, whispering behind their hands. She came over to me, her voice a tight whisper. I don't understand, she hissed. You said you were following my instructions? I gave her my sweetest, most exhausted smile. I did, I said. I followed every single one. This is the result of your perfect advice. The story of my father-in-law's disastrous 70th birthday became a legend in their social circle. The Henderson method was never mentioned again. They still offer advice, but now it's timid, couched in phrases like, you know best, of course, but have you considered? It was the most satisfying public disaster I've ever witnessed.